The sale of smartphones is falling down. Currently, the smartphone market has grown to over 3.2 billion users. But the total number of smartphones shipped in 2019 was 1.3 billion, a decrease from over 1.4 billion smartphones each year from 2014 to 2018. Since most people have a working smartphone on their hands already, they are less inclined to buy another every year. On the other hand, the smartphone market is experiencing a decline in year-on-year growth. On top of that, selling smartphones is no more profitable. From the cost of the bill of materials to manufacturing, operations, and marketing have increased over the years. So is the competition due to aggressively low-priced smartphones from Chinese manufacturers. Thus, companies are looking to make a profit elsewhere. In our today's video, we'll discuss Apple, how they have pivoted from their previous strategy and embraced a plan of action that is very much unlike Apple. Hey everyone, I'm Chaser and welcome to Tech Square. Apple currently possesses over 13% market share of the total smartphone market, and historically, they have been happy with their market share, cause this way they had complete control over their end user experience. Unlike other smartphone manufacturers, Apple makes a substantial amount of profit from selling their devices. But as the growth of the smartphone market shrinking, Apple was quick to make some changes in their act. They realized that even with making so much profit from selling their devices, this model is not going to be viable for so long. Thus, they are focusing their efforts towards subscription-based services. Apple currently offers 6 subscription services. They have Apple Arcade and TV Plus for $5 a month each, Apple Music, News Plus, and iCloud is $10 a month each. And then the iPhone upgrade plan for $50 a month, where you would always get the latest iPhone. That is $90 a month and almost $1,100 of steady income per year. This is the beauty of subscription-based services. With any smartphone, you have to convince a user to buy it whenever there is a new phone, and you have to convince them every year. But with subscription plans, you've got to convince them once, and as long as the company doesn't screw up or disappoint anyway, it got itself a steady, predictable income year after year. As far as tech companies are concerned, they see the future in subscription-based services. That's why more and more companies are adopting this model. Examples of this would be Microsoft 365, Amazon Prime, Adobe Creative Cloud, and even YouTube Premium. But this issue with the subscription-based plan is that it only works with an increasing number of that user base, which does not align with Apple's past strategy. As I have mentioned earlier, that Apple historically likes to keep tight control over its user base, since this way they can maintain the end user experience the way they intend to. That is why they purposefully sold their devices to fewer people. The subscription-based business model only stays profitable if you can keep selling the services to more and more users. For Apple to do that, they need to sell more of its devices. And this is where things started to get interesting. Apple had to shift from its previous strategy of keeping limited users and go after Android's market share. Interestingly, Apple released the iPhone SE 2020, a budget-friendly smartphone. The second generation iPhone SE was Apple's way to give longtime iPhone 6 and 7 users an affordable upgrade option so that they don't go over to Android, and in that effort, possibly steal back a few Android users as well. Cause every person jumping over to an iPhone is a potential subscriber to Apple Music, News Plus, and so on. In an effort to steal more users from Android, over the past few weeks, Apple has brought some few changes that are very un-Apple. This starts with iOS 14. For so long, Android had some advantage over iOS, like the freedom of customization and granular control over the OS. These are pretty simple features that Apple could have added at any time, yet chose not to as it wasn't in their interest to do so. But now Apple's priority has shifted. They have added arrangeable and resizable widgets. Apps are no longer on the home screen since there is now App Library. With picture-in-picture mode, Apple's multitasking also doesn't suck anymore. It's insane to think that it took 10 years for Apple to bring these features on iOS. The reason behind adopting these features on iOS is that now more than ever, Apple needs Android users to jump ship. With an affordable iPhone and iOS 14, Apple has made the most important move to make iPhone more lucrative to the larger user base. But there is another piece of the puzzle at play here, which is happening with MacBook and macOS Big Sur. At WWDC 2020, Apple announced its shift towards its own in-house ARM chips for its Mac lineup. With their own ARM chips, not only Apple will be able to make more Macs at a lower price, but will also be able to make a hyper-efficient laptop in a super slim body. We have already seen what the iPad is capable of these chips inside, so Apple could be in control of the performance of their devices. Meanwhile, the macOS Big Sur will be able to run iOS and iPadOS apps from the day one. This means the MacBook users will have access to the world's biggest app store. And with bringing two different user bases together, app developers will have much larger user base. This will make it more lucrative for app developers to tweak their apps so that Mac apps could run on iOS. Add all these together, it will become more apparent that Apple wants more and more users to buy their devices and switch to their platform. The iPhone was the real entry point to enter Apple's ecosystem, but the phone is pricey. So they have brought iPhone SE and iOS 14. Thus, user can enter at a much lower entry point. They have also made sure those devices can stand out their own. The iPad is not a big iPhone anymore, but turned into a slim and smaller computer with its own iPad OS. Apple Watch is no longer an iPhone accessory, rather an independent smartwatch with its own app store. They're making a Mac that isn't going to be far better than any Macs before and might come with a cheaper price tag. Apple's hope is that once a customer enters into their ecosystem with any of their devices and starts paying monthly for their services, they might as well buy more devices to consume them with. This way, a sale of one piece of hardware might lead to the sale of more hardware. And as of users funneled into Apple's ecosystem, more customers for their subscription services. So with that, we are at the end of our video. If you like this video, then hit the like and share with your friends. Comment below to let us know your thoughts, consider subscribing to our channel for more videos like this, and press the bell icon to get notified for our future videos.